everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. Mathematical computations play a crucial role in coding interviews, and mastering them can set you apart from other candidates. In this video, we are diving into 6 essential mathematical challenges that frequently appear in technical interviews and coding assessments. From finding factors of a number to calculating the factorials, generating the Fibonacci sequence, computing the areas, and summing up the squares of a natural numbers, this problem will sharpen your problem solving skills, enhance your logical thinking, and prepare you for the real world scenarios. Whether you are preparing for a coding interviews, competitive programming, or simply strengthening your JavaScript fundamentals, this video is for you. So grab a notebook, follow along, and let's tackle this must-know mathematical problems together. And if you get stuck anywhere, please drop a comment. I'm here to help. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coding challenges. And let's get started with our first question. Write a JavaScript function to find all the factors of a given number. So we have to find out the factors of a given number. So let's dive in our VS Code and let's start solving it out. So if you see, this particular question is already mentioned here. Write a JavaScript function to find out all the factors of a given number. So let's break down this question now. So we will take this JavaScript function here. And what is the second part of it? That we have to find out the factors of a given number, and that to all the factors. Okay. So when we have to find out all the factors of a given number, then we will have to take a loop. So let us see how we will be solving it out. So function we have to take. So let us assume JavaScript function we have to take, right? So let us, since it is related to finding a factors, so we will have to write here find factors. So let us create a function called as a find factors. Okay. Now let us come to this part. As I said, when we have to find out the factors of a given number, we have to take a loop. Okay. So we will take a for loop over here. Now what this for loop will do? Why we have to take a for loop? Because we have to find out all the factors of a number. So from 1, we will start checking from 1 to that number, right? From 1 to that number which has been given to us. And in that, after passing through a loop, what we will do, we will also have to keep a checklist. So we will need to have a if condition over here. What check you are going to give here? The check you are going to put it over here, that number should be completely divisible, right? A number has to be completely divisible. Then means what operator we will use? We have seen in the previous examples, right, that we are going to use our modulus operator, correct? So in the modulus operator, what it should be? The remainder has to be 0. That means the completely divisible by 0, correct? So now let's start solving it out and let's see how it goes about it. So find factors. Let's create a function find factors we will do. And let us, as soon as we write a function invocation is a must. So let us invoke the function. Okay. So we have invoked this particular function, and now after invoking, let us pass the argument to this. Suppose that number can be 12. So assume that we have to find the factor of a 12. So let us receive it over here as a number and let us just console this number. So if I console the number, and now let us test our function is written properly or not. So let us write here node and our file name. And if we see, we have here 12. Okay. So that means this function has been successfully executed properly, right? Now after this, let us comment this out. And now what we have to take? We have to take a loop. So I will take a for loop, and let I is equal to 1, it will start and it will end to that number, because all the factors, right? So I is less than or is equal to number we will take, and we will have to increment it, correct? After this, what we are going to do now, this part we have done, we have taken a loop. Now we have to put a check also, right? So we will put a if condition here. In this if condition, what we will do, we will see that number is completely divisible by I, correct? So if that number is completely divisible by I, that means the remainder will be 0. And then just let us console here our I, console.log I, correct? Now let us run and test it whether we are able to successfully execute it or not. Okay. So let us write node and let us write our file name. And if you see, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 12. That means we are able to get the factors. Suppose I write here find factors of 6, and if I run it once again, so you see here 1, 2, 3, 6 we are able to get, means we are able to understand and we are able to get the particular factors of the given numbers. Now what, this is fine, but now let us put this in a proper way also in the console as well. Okay, so what we will do, we will take one empty array and let us give that name empty array as a factors. So whatever the factors we are getting it over here one by one, let us put it inside this array. So what we will do, let us comment it out and we will use the push method. Okay, the array method of push, what does it do? It adds up a array, right, at the end of the, right, at the end of each element you can add up over here. So what we will do, we will write here factors dot push we will do, and we will push our I into this. Okay, now then we have to console our factors. Now instead of console.log I, we will have to console our factors. Now what we will do, we will not console it inside the if condition or inside the for loop. We are going to print it outside the loop. Why outside the loop? We will say once execution is completed and the loop is terminated, then you give me the final list of the factors. So then I will write here and I will put it the console.log, and now let us clear the console and let us see once again what do we get. If you see, now we are getting in a array 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 12. Okay, and here also 1, 2, 3 and 6. So we are getting in a form of an array. So this is fine. Now let us little bit more improvise it, how to show it in the console. Okay, so what we will do, let us use a spread operator now. How do we use a spread operator now? What is the syntax of a spread operator? The spread operator syntax is nothing but what? 3 dots, right? So we are going to use a spread operator. What does it do? It spreads the elements of an array. So if you do here console.log and 3 dots, and if you run this particular array in one line, you will get this, right? So it has spreaded out the elements of an array. Okay, now what we will do, let us use a template literals over here and let us try to print it. So what we will do, factors of a number, right? So of a number, I will not write just a number. Let us take this number here. So how to write it inside a template literals? Dollar, and we will have to write it inside a flower braces. So number, and then if you see here, we are getting it what? Okay, the comma is missing. Let us put a comma as well, and let us clear the screen. Let us clear the terminal, and we will get here what? If you run it, we are getting factors of a number, right? We are getting factors of a number. 12 is this, right? Correct. So we are able to get this particular thing over here. Now what we will do after this, now again let us try to use one more method, that is a join method. We can get the same output using a join method. What does join method do? Join methods bring together the elements of an array, right? So what we will do, let us take here console.log and let us test it. Okay, so I will write here factors, and then we will write here join, and let us put inside this, let us put a double quotes with a space. Okay, and let us now run it once again. If you run it, I get the same output. Can you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 12? Correct. Now let us take this and put it over the same thing over here as well. So we get it over here, right? Now if you just test it once again, you get the same thing in both the places using a spread syntax also and using a join method also. In the join method, let us little bit improvise it by putting a comma. Let us have a comma separated. Okay, so what we will do, in this join method we have it, we are passing an empty, right, with a space. Let us put it a comma and put it a space, and then let us test it once again. So if you see here console.log, and what I will do, factors, and then let us put join in the double quotes, put it comma and put a space over here, and let us clear the screen once again, and let us Run here. If you see, I got 1, 2, and 3, 6, 1, 2, 3, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. That means we are getting with a comma separated as well. So let us take it here and once again put it over here, the same thing in the template syntax, template literals and everything over here. And if you see here, now clear the screen, and now if you run this particular code, you get factors of 12. Like in 3 places, this both are giving me the same output, but here you can see slightly difference. If you want to more make it good, you can put a hyphen, or you can put a colon also. That also looks better. Okay, now if you clear the screen, and if you clear the screen or clear the terminal, whatever we say, we get factors of 12 are this, and factors of 6 is this. Okay, so we are able to get this. Now we have successfully executed and we have successfully got the factors. Now whatever number you provide, if you just provide the factor, suppose you want to find out the factor of 2, then just pass it here and run it once again. You will get it for 2 as well. 1 and 2, that is what is the factor. So that is also we are getting it up. Okay, so I'll just recap what we have done so far. As it was said to write a function, we have written a function and we are invoking the function over here. And in this, then we have taken a loop because we have to find out the all the factors. So from 1 to that particular number, we have made a condition that it will be completely divisible. We are checking for each of the for each number we are checking, and we are passing it over here. So I becomes 1, I becomes 2, I becomes 3, till that number we are checking, and if the remainder is 0, we are going to push it to our factors array, right? And once we get it, we are getting the factors list also. After that, we are printing it outside the loop. That why? Because it should give me a complete factors list together. And then using a spread operator, using a join method, we have printed in a proper way in the console. What does a spread operator do? Spread operator syntax is 3 dots. It spread out the elements of an array. We can see this very nicely over here. It has spread it out. What does join method do? Join method, it is going to bring together the elements of an array with a space. If you're passing the space, it will bring it together with a space. Okay, and if you pass with a comma, it will bring it together with a comma. So this is a comma separated. So that is what we have improvised our printing in the console, and we have done this particular challenge as well. Okay, so I hope you have understood this particular question. Okay, let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is write a JavaScript function that calculates the factorial of a given number. So we have to calculate a factorial of a given number. Okay, so let's proceed with this. So we'll proceed with our VS Code. So you see here the question is already mentioned. So let us break down this question. What is this over here? First, we will have to take this JavaScript function. Okay, so we will take it over here and put it down over here. And then what is the next thing? That we have to calculate the factorial of any given number. Okay, now since this question is related to the factorial, so we will write here factorial. Okay, so just let us write here a factorial with a function name factorial. So we will create a function name with a factorial today. Okay, and now if we see here, this is what factorial of any given number. So now we will have to understand what is a factorial of a number. How do we get a factorial of any number? So how do we get it? Suppose let us assume the number is 5. Okay, so how can we do it? We will have to multiply from 5 to 1. So how it will happen? 5, then 4, and then 3, then 2, and then 1. So it is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Suppose you take a number 6. So how it will proceed then? It will be 6 times. Okay, it will be what? It will be 6 times, and after that 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So it will continue till 1. So whatever number we are going to take, it will start from that number and we will reduce it by 1 and we will keep on multiplying it. So this is what is the logic we are going to use it over here. So now what we will do, we know that we are going to create a function with a factorial name. Now, if you observe what is here in this function, what we will write, if you see what is there, 1 to 6, 1 to 5. So again, it is a loop, right? There is a range from 1 to that particular number. So what we will do here is we will again take a loop, okay? And what we will do, instead of going from 6 to 1, let us go from 1 to that number, okay? So we will start our loop from 1, okay? And we will end till that number, okay? Like this, and we have to increment it. So this is our loop, right? And then inside that, this logic we are going to write it over here, okay? So let us see how that logic will be executed. That also we will see it out, okay? So now let us write here function and our function name. So function name is, we have assumed factorial, so let us write that. And now let us invoke this function, okay? So factorial, and here what we will do, we will pass our argument over here. Argument means we are going to pass the number for which we are going to calculate. So let us assume we are going to calculate for 5, okay? So I will put here 5, and then it is going to receive it over here, right? So I will write here, we can take it right now as n, or you can assume as number also. I am putting right now as n. So it is accepting it over here. Now let us just, what we will do, we will write here console.log of n, and we will check whether this function is executing or not. So we will come to our terminal and we will write node, and we will write our file name, that is 08, okay? That is our today's day challenge, right? So then if you see, I am successfully able to get this particular 5 over here. That means this function is successfully running, correct? Now, as we have discussed over here that we are going to take a loop right inside this. So what we will do now, we will take a for loop and we will run from 1 to that particular number. Okay, so here it, in this case, it will be 1 to 5. So we will have to write let I is equal to 1, and we will start here and we will end it at what, till n. That means till 5, and we are going to increment it by 1 again and again. That is why I plus plus. And let us see in console.log whether we are able to execute it or not, this for loop. So once again, I will write here node and our file name, and you see here we are able to get this 1 to 5. This 5 is this console.login. So for a time being, let us comment this out, okay? Now we are able to do this. Now inside this, we will have to write the logic. Now what we will write the logic over here? So we want to calculate this and we have to multiply this, right? So what we will do it, let us create a variable called as a result and assign it the value as 1. Now why 1? Because see, if you suppose assign by 0, because in previous videos what we have done, where we were calculating the sum, we have assigned as 0, correct? But here we will not assign as 0, we will assign as 1. Why? Because if you multiply anything with 0, it will become 0, right? So we cannot take it over here 0. We will have to take 1 here itself, because anything multiplied by 1 remains the same value. So this does not make any difference. So that is why we will store it with 1. And why not with string and not with anything else? Because we need to do a multiplication, right? So we need to have an integer value over here so that we can multiply this over here, correct? So that is why we are writing let result is equal to 1, correct? So now what we will do it here, now we will come inside this and we will what do, result is equal to, and we will have to write here result multiplied by I. Now I'll explain you this as well, how it is going to work. First, let us see how it works out, okay? So result is equal to, we are going to multiply whatever the result will be, we are going to multiply by I. Now why we are going to do it, let us see over here, okay? What happens when we do this, okay? Now suppose when the value of I, okay, we will take here the value of I here as first time the value is 1, right? So first time I is equal to 1, and we will take this all 3 and let us understand this step by step. So if you see here, the value I is initialized value is I is equal to 1. So we will remove it here and we will keep this condition over here and the increment, and we will also keep here the result, because we are going to store our value inside the result itself, right? Now let us understand this loop, and then you will understand this calculation as well. Now you see here this value right now which we have it, this is 1. Now what happens here, it will test the condition I is equal to 1, and it is going to test the condition I is less than or is equal to n. N means it is always, right now what it will be here in this term, it will always be 5, right? So it will be tested over here, and if it finds that it is less, 1 is less than, correct, 5, then it will become true over here, correct, and then what will happen, it is going to increment it. Okay, when it finds n, it will increment it over here, so it will become 2. And now what will be the result? If you understand, now it will come inside this, correct, it will come inside this, and what will happen, result is equal to result multiplied by I. Right now the value of result is what, 1. Initial value is what, 1, correct? So we'll keep it here. So 1 into 1, right? 1 into I means 1 into 1, correct? So that becomes what, nothing but 1 itself. So result will hold initial, after calculating it will have 1. Okay, this is the first thing which we are going to do here. Now after that I is going to increment, so I incremented, right? So now we have here I is equal to 2. Again it will check that this condition 2 is less than or is equal to 5. It is less than 5, right? The condition is true again. So then after that what will happen, it is going to increment it, correct, and it will check this particular. Now this calculation will happen. Now what is the value of result right now? It is still the 1. And what is the value of I? It is nothing but 2, right? So it will become 2, correct? Now in the third iteration, what will happen? It will become 3, correct? And then here, if you come here, again it is going to check 3 is less than or is equal to n. It is less than n, right? That means less than 5. So it is going to be printed as true over here, and then what will happen, it will increment again. Now what is the result value? 2. What is the I value? 3, right? So it becomes what, 6, correct? It becomes what, 6. So 2 times 3 is what, 6. Now what will happen here, again it will come here and it will take the I value as 4, and then again here it is going to check 4 is less than or is equal to 5. Yes, it is less. So this condition is true, and it is going to increment, correct? So it will increment here as 5. After this, what will happen? What is the result value now? Updated value result 6, correct? Because we are doing again and again 6 result into 1, correct? So then 6 into I, what is the I value? 4. So 6 into 4 will be what? 24, correct? Now after that, what will happen? After that, again here we will have 5, correct? Incremented value. Again it will check I is less than or is equal to n, correct? So it will check and it will see here, yes, it is true, because it is I is equal to n. So again it will print here true, and then it will again go and increment. Okay, now what will happen here? Now what will be the next thing we will get here? 24. What is the final value of result? 24 into 5, correct? Then what it will print here now? It will print here 120, correct? It will print here what? 120. So now again, I value has incremented, it will become 6, correct? And then it will test the condition. 6 is less than or is equal to n? No, it is false. So here your loop is going to terminate. So your loop terminates here and you get your final value as 120. So this is what will happen. So if you come here and if you console your result, okay, then you will see you are going to get the same output. Let us test it. What do we get? We get 1, 2, 6, 24 and 120. This is what we are able to get it. But since we want the final value, just the 120, what we will do, we are not going to print our result inside this. We are going to print our result outside this for loop, correct? Now, if you come here and if we print it here, so we will get here what? Now, once again, you run it, you will get here 120. So this is what we are going to get it. 6 into 5, sorry, 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. This is the factorial of 6 and this is the factorial of 5. So when we come here to the factorial of 6, it will become what? 720, right? So if you change your number and if you test it once again, for a factorial of 6, and if you just test it once again, you will get nothing but here 720. So this is what we have. Okay, now the same thing we can do it here as well. We can write the most preferable line over here. What is the most preferable line we prefer, right? Result. And then what we write in the previous examples, in the previous videos we have seen, right? Examples, questions which we have solved, there we have seen what we are supposed to do. Result times is equal to, or star is equal to I, correct? And it is going to be the same. So now once again, if you run it, you will get the same output here. So now what we will do, now we will just improvise this. So let us clear the terminal now and let us improvise this console.log statement as well. And we will use our template syntax. Yes. And we will write here the factorial of a number, right? So what is the number? N, right? So I will take here N inside this, and then we can write colon, and we will get our result here. So just let us test it once again in our terminal. If we see here, we have got factorial of 5 is 120, factorial of 6 is 720, right? So this is how the loop is going to execute. So after every iteration, it is going to get multiplied and it is going to give the final output. So that is how we calculate the factorial of any number. Okay, so if I have to just give you a recap over here, what we have done, we have written a function which is going to calculate the factorial, correct? So this is how factorial is calculated, from that 5 to that number 1. But what we have done, we have just reversed it out. While writing the loop, we have taken from 1 to that number. So this is our factorial n, which is taking our number. Then you have a result, which is storing our initial value, which when we multiply, it doesn't have any concern over here. So it will keep on multiplying and it will keep on storing the value over here, result. And then we have taken a loop which is going to run it till the n, and it is going to calculate the factorial and it will store in this result variable, correct? And then we have here console.log statement, and then we have invoked this particular function, the factorial, correct? And we are able to execute it over here. And if we see in the terminal properly, we have improvised our console.log statement as well, correct? Let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is a Fibonacci series but with a little twist. Instead of usual 0 and 1, we are going to customize our starting numbers and generate a Fibonacci sequence based on those values. Okay, so let's proceed with the question. If you see here, what is this question written? Write a JavaScript function that generates a Fibonacci sequence starting from 2 given numbers and outputs a specified number of terms. Now let us break down this question. If we see here, what is there in this? We have to first write a JavaScript function, correct? Then that generates a Fibonacci sequence, correct? And then it is going to start from a 2 given numbers, and then it is saying that it outputs also a specified number of terms. So if we break down, we get this 4 statements from this question. Now, since it is related to the Fibonacci, so let us write a function name here as a Fibonacci. Okay, and since we are going to customize this, let us write here custom. Okay, and let us make this f also small. So this will be our function name. Okay, now it generates a Fibonacci sequence. Now let us understand how this Fibonacci sequence works. Okay, so we have to understand that. Okay, so now if you see here, now in a Fibonacci sequence, the starting 2 numbers we are being provided with us. So suppose that is 0 and 1. So now you have to find out the next term. Now what will be the next term? The next term in a Fibonacci sequence is said it is the addition of the previous 2 terms. So that is nothing but 0 plus 1, where we will get what? We will get here 1. Okay, then what will be the next term now? 1 plus 1, we will get here what? 2 we will get, right? And after that, what will be the next term we will get here? We will get here 1 plus 2, that is 3. And after that, what will be the next term? If I have to go, it will be 5. How it is coming? 0 plus 1 is 1. Then 1 plus 1 is 2. Then 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. And it can go on with this, right? It will go on with this, okay? So if I have to tell you, it will go on, okay? So now let us comment this out. Okay. Now in this, now what do we observe? So this was our first term. Assume this was our first term and this is our second term. And this is our next term, right? Now when we want to get this, how next term? Because first plus second is giving us the next term, right? Now we want to get 2, right? Now what will happen? This will become our first term, correct? And then this will become our second term. Similarly, now this is our next term, correct? Now if I have to tell you, if you go for this 3, for this 3, who is the first term? For this 3, who is the first term? This is the first term. Then here you get your second term, and then you get your next term, correct? And similarly for 5 also, if you have to see, then what will happen? This will be your first term, this will be your second term, and this will be your next term, right? So this is how it is going to work, correct? So first plus second will give you the next term, again first plus second will give you the next term, again first plus second will give you the next term, again first plus second will give you the next term, and it can continue. So right, so this is your Fibonacci sequence. Now if you see, every time your current value is been holded by whom? It is holded by the first, right? It is holded by the first term, correct? So that is where we will print our first term. Okay, so we are going to print our first term in the function. Now this is our Fibonacci sequence. Okay, now these two numbers we have assumed right now, that is 0 and 1, and we have seen this here as well. And let us assume output a specified number of term. You can put 5, you can put 6, you can put 7. It depends upon you how many numbers in that sequence you wanted. Okay, so let us assume right now, suppose I put 6. Okay, right now I'm assuming it and putting it as 6. Now let us write the function here. Now I will write here function, and what we will write here, this function name, I'll take it from here. Okay, and let us invoke this function. So I will invoke this here, and what it takes 3 arguments. What are the 3 arguments? The first 2 numbers, that is 0 and 1, and the third thing it is going to take, that 6. Okay, the 6 is what going to do now. Now this 6 is what, how many terms I want, right? That means if I want 6 terms, I am going to pass 6. If I need 7 terms, I'm going to pass 7. That means this will take a what? It will take a loop. From 1 to 6 it will run, and I will generate 6 terms. From 1 to 8 if I pass, it will generate 8 terms. So that is what it is going to work over here. So now, since we have passed here as an argument, let us receive it here as an parameter. So what I will write here, I'll write here start 1, then I will write here start 2, and then I will write my number of terms which I want. Okay, this is what we have done. Now we can console it and test. Okay, so let us just console.log and just test this out. So now if you come here and if I write here node and our file name, you will get this 0, 1 and 6. That means our function is successfully running. After this, what we have to do, we have to take a loop, because we want to run till the number 6, because that is the number of terms I want in a Fibonacci sequence. So I will come here and I will write here let I is equal to what? 1, and it is going to end till that particular number, and it is going to increment, right? And now after this, what I will do, first of all, as we have seen in this, what we have seen, this, there is a first term, right? So I am going to print the first term, but I will not directly use this. What I will do it, I will declare the variables here. So I will what do, I will put here first is equal to start 1, then I will put here second is equal to, I will put here start 2, and then I will just put a next, and I will keep it like this, because next is the addition of the previous 2 terms, right? So I will just declare and keep it like this. Now what I will do it here, let me just comment this out now. Now in this we will come, in this for loop, we have seen that every time our first term is holding the current value. So I will print my first, my console.log, my first. Okay, so like this I am going to print it. Okay, after that I need to find out my next term, right? So that I will print it, and I am going to find out my next term. What is the next term? Next term is nothing but first plus second term. That is okay, because we have seen always first plus second is we are getting a next term. Now what happens here? Now we have to keep After the loop, our first term and the second term is going to change. In this, in each iteration, it is going to change, right? In each iteration, it is once the loop is terminated, then we will print the final value. But what happens in each iteration, your first and the second term is going to change. What is happening? Your first term is getting assigned by second and your second term is getting assigned by next. Here you see your first term is getting assigned by second and your second term is getting assigned by next. Here as well, you can see first term is getting assigned by second and second term is getting assigned by next. So every time in each iteration, this is your number of iterations which we are doing. This is the first iteration, this is your second iteration, this is your third iteration, this is your fourth iteration. So each iteration, it is performing it, right? So then what, seeing this here, we will write the same thing. What we will write here, first is equal to second, okay? And then we will write here, second is equal to next. The same thing. We can see this clearly here. This also we can see very clearly from here that every time our first is getting printed. This is our first iteration, this is second, this is third, this is fourth. So every time you see here, what happens? Every time our first is getting printed. So first is holding the current value. So that is why console.log first. And then what is our next term? How we are getting the next term? First plus second. That also we can see here. Now, in the next iteration, what happens? Your first and the second term changes, right? Because initially it was 0 plus 1, then it will become 1 plus 1. So this is your now first term and this is your second term. So this is what happens. Your first term becomes here is equal to second and second becomes next. So that is what we have written here very clearly. And the same thing you can observe it from here as well. And now if you just run this file once again over here, node 09, you will get 0, 1, 1, 2, 3 and 5. That is what we have seen here, right? Same thing. But now what we will do, let us print it like a series, okay? What we will do, let us print it like a series. So we will come here and we will take here what? Let series is equal to, we will take an empty array. So we will assign the series as an empty array, and instead of printing it here, let us just push it. So I will write here series dot push and I will write here first. And once the loop is terminated, I will print my series here. So console.log and I will what do here, series I will write, and then if you run it, you will get it in form of an array over here. So you get it 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, correct? Now what is the next thing we will do here is, let us use our temp syntax. What syntax we will use now? We are going to use a template literal syntax first of all. So I will come here and what we will do here is, let us put a comma, and in this I will write the Fibonacci sequence. We will take it from here itself, the Fibonacci sequence generating from a two given numbers, okay? So the template literal syntax we will put it and we will improvise it here, okay? So Fibonacci sequence starting from the given two numbers, and we know we are passing what? Start 1, right? So we will write here start 1, comma, start 2, correct? And we will write like this, and let us put a colon and let us run it once again. You see, we get this over here, correct? We are able to successfully get this particular line Fibonacci sequence starting from given two numbers, that is 0 and 1. And we are able to do this. Now let us improvise more. Now what we will do it here is, we will use our spread operator syntax also. Spread operator also we will use. So what is the spread operator syntax? It is 3 dots, right? Let us spread the elements of an array. So what I will do it, I will pass here 3 dots and it will spread out the elements of an array. Now once again run this. Now you will get it in a proper line. If I show the terminal correctly, Fibonacci series starting from a two given number 0 and 1 is this. And if you want to mention that number as well, you can mention the number as well. It is there, right? And output as a specified number of terms, that also you can put it here, okay, in this, and you will get it inside this console.log statement. So if you see, we have successfully printed our Fibonacci sequence, correct? So if I have to just wrap it up, what is the logic here we have used? The logic here, you have to follow this logic every time. first plus second is becoming next, and then in the next iteration, what happens in the next iteration, we are assigning first is equal to second and second is equal to next. You can see here very nicely. This is what we are doing it. And why we are pushing our first only? Because every time the current value is been holded by the first, correct? The current value is been holded by the first. So that is where it is not going to change and it will hold the current value. So we will print our value. And if you see, we get our Fibonacci series over here. Got it? So this is what is the Fibonacci series starting from a two given numbers and also with a specified number of terms. Now, what we will do, I told you it is a customized one, right? So let us change this, okay? So if you come here, Fibonacci custom, and if you provide suppose 2 and 5, and suppose I just provide here 3, and once again, if you run it, you will get another sequence. What is that sequence? 2 plus 5 is what? 7. The sequence we have get it. I just put 3. That is why it is giving me the 3. Okay, if you want to make it 5, you can put it 5 and it will give you proper sequence. So I'll just clear the terminal and once again I will run it here. You can see I am getting proper 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 plus 5 is what? 12 and 12 plus 7 is what? 19. So this is what is our Fibonacci series. Okay, let's move to our next challenge. Today I am exploring Gooey Codekata platform. So we are going to solve a problem of an absolute beginner, and here is our question that we have to find the area of an equilateral triangle, right? Here we have the input description, output description, and we have the sample input and output as well. So same question I have taken in the VS Code, the area of equilateral triangle. So let's proceed with this challenge and we will move to our VS Code. In the VS Code, if we see, we have here our question along with the input and output description, and also we have our sample input and output, right? So let us read out the question. So what is the first line of this question? The area of equilateral triangle is what? 1 divided by 4 multiplied by square root of 3 multiplied by a square, where a represents the side of a triangle. So that is what? 1 divided by 4 multiplied by square root of 3 multiplied by side square, right? This is the area of equilateral triangle formula. So they have given us the formula, right? After that, they are saying you are provided with a side A. So they are saying you have the side A also. So you just check this formula and calculate our area of equilateral triangle. So they have said to write a JS function, right? So we have to write a JS function to find the area of equilateral triangle. After that, they said input description is what? Side of an equilateral triangle is provided as an input. And what is the output description? They are saying you have to calculate the area of equilateral triangle and print the answer up to 2 decimal places after rounding off. So you will have to round off as well up to 2 decimal places. So after calculating the area of equilateral triangle, we need to round off also up to 2 decimal places. Then we have here what? Sample input and output. So if we see here, this is our input is 20. Our area of equilateral triangle can be 173 point some odd numbers, right? But they have limited here up to 2 decimal places, right? So that is what is our sample output, okay? So now what we will do, first of all, let us come here and we will break this question. So we have been asked to write a JS function, right? So I will write here JavaScript function. After that, what it was being said to find out the area of equilateral triangle, right? So that also I will take here and I will put it over here. Now to find out the area of equilateral triangle, we have been given with this formula. So let us take here and we will put it over here, okay? And now let us come to line number 15. And it has been asked to find out what area of equilateral triangle. So we will keep the function name also same. So I will take this area of equilateral triangle and I will put it over here and I will remove this off the and we will make this E capital. So just let me write here E capital and also we will remove this space and we will make this T capital. So this is area equilateral triangle and we will write here with a parenthesis. So this will be our function name, okay? Now we will come down and write down our approach to find out the area of equilateral triangle using this particular formula. So let us come here and write down the approach. So I'll just write here what? Approach, okay? Now here, We know we have been given with a formula. So let us take this and we will put it over here. So this is the formula to calculate the area of equilateral triangle. So in this, what we are going to use it, we will be using our math methods. Okay. So what are the math methods we are going to use it? We will be using a math dot square root method. Okay. With this, and the another method we are going to use it, what? Math dot power method. Okay. So these are the two methods which will help us to execute this particular question. Okay. Now what does math dot square root does? It will give you the square root of a particular number. So our number is what right now? 3, right? So we are going to write what? Math dot square root of 3 like this. So it will give me the square root of 3. After that, we have to find out what? This particular side square, right? For that, we have to use this math dot power method. So math dot power method returns the value of a base raised to a power. So in this case, what it will be? Math dot power, and here we will have to write our side comma 2, because our base is what? Side, and power will be what? 2, right? We have a raised to 2, right? So that is what we have to use it here, side comma 2. Or if you see here, it is a. So we will be writing here what? Math dot power, and we will write here what? A comma 2. So this will be our math dot power method which we are going to use it. Okay. After that, what we have to do in this, we will have to use our two fixed method also. What this two fixed method is going to do? This method is going to round off the result up to the decimal places which we will give. So we want to round off to 2 decimal places, right? So here we will write what? Whatever is the result. Suppose our result, I am storing into a result variable. Okay. So I will write here what? Result dot two fixed like this, and in this parenthesis we are going to write our number. So in this particular parenthesis we will write here 2, and because of this it is going to limit the decimal places. So when you write 2, it will limit up to 2 decimal places. If you write 3, it will limit up to 3 decimal places. So this is what we are going to use it. Okay. So these are the 3 methods which we will be using it. After that, we will just log our result. Okay. So let us come down and we will write down our function. So we will write here what? Function, and our function name will be what? Area of equilateral triangle, right? With this parenthesis. Okay. So let us come down and let us invoke it quickly. So I will write here what? Area of equilateral triangle, and we are going to pass our sample input, that is nothing but 20. Okay. So let us come here and pass this 20, and we can receive here as a or side, whatever you feel. So right now I am receiving it as a side. Okay. So let us come here to the terminal and we will see this out whether we are able to execute it or not. So for that we will write here what? Console.log of side. Okay. So let us come to the terminal and we will write here what? Node day 52 challenge, and we will hit enter. So what do we get? We got here 20, right? That means this function is successfully running. Now let us come here and try to substitute the values here. So we will just put this and we will write here like this. Okay. Now, first of all, we will find the square root. So I will declare a variable called as a find square root. Okay. And here I will write math dot square root, and in this I will pass our 3. Let us come here and console it out. So console.log find sqrt. Let us check what do we get. So node I will write and day 52 challenge, and we will hit enter. So we got this much numbers, right? You can see we are getting up to 10, 12 numbers, right? After decimal places, correct? So that is why they have said you will have to limit up to 2. Okay. So we have got this here. Okay. After that, let us come here and find out the power also. So I will declare a variable called as a find power. Okay. POW I will write, and we will write here what? Math dot power. And since I have received here as a params as a side, so I will write here what? Side comma 2, and let us console that as well. So I will write here what? Console.log find power. Okay. Let us come here and clear the terminal and rerun it. So I will write here node day 52 challenge, and we will hit enter. So what do we get? I got here 400. So 20 was our side, right? 20 times 20 is what? 400, right? That is what we are getting. So this is also running it properly. Okay. Now we have to calculate the area. This is what the parts of it we have done. So we calculated the square root of 3. We have calculated here the side square also, right? So this too has been calculated, right? But we have to calculate this entire, right? So we will come here and we will declare one more variable, const area. And in this, we are going to store the area of equilateral triangle. So what is the formula here? 1 divided by 4, right? And in that, we will put multiplication and in the bracket, right? It is in the bracket, right? So inside this bracket, what we will write? Find square root multiplied by find power. So this is what we are going to do it. Okay. Now let us come here and console this out. So console.log, I will write here what? Area. Now let us clear the terminal and rerun it. So we will write here what? Node day 52 challenge and we will hit enter. What do we get? 173.205080 dot dot dot. That is again, it is giving us a after a decimal places more numbers, right? And that is where they said you please limit up to 2 places, right? If you see the output, we have reached here, but we have not limited out, right, the decimal places. So we will come here and we will what do? We will create a one more variable called as a const area rounded. Okay. Let us write here and we will write here what then? Area dot to fixed. Let us see how it works out. So to fixed is there. In this to fixed, I will pass here 2 first, okay? And let us come here and console it out. So console.log area rounded I will write. And let us come here, write here what? Node day 52 challenge and we will hit enter. So what do we got? We got here 173.21. So this is nothing but the exact output which is being expected from us, right? So we have got this exact output, right? Now let us come here and we will improvise this as well. So let us put this in a template literal syntax and we will write here what? Area of an equilateral triangle. So let us come here and let us take this from here. So area of an equilateral triangle. So let us write here. Okay, and this area rounded, first of all, let us put it in the flower braces, dollar and the flower braces. So area of an equilateral triangle with side, okay. So what was our side? With side, dollar, flower braces, side, right? We have our side and we will put here colon. And now let us see what do we get in the terminal. So we will clear the terminal and we will write here what? Node day 52 challenge and we will hit enter. What do we get? Area of an equilateral triangle with side 20 is what? 173.21, right? This is what it was expected from us, right? So successfully we have executed this, okay? Now let us come here and we will remove this other console.log statement. So I will just comment it out. So line number 28, line number 31, line number 34, line number 37, okay? And now let us come here and clear everything and rerun it. So node day 52 challenge and we will hit enter. What do we get? Area of an equilateral triangle with side 20 is what? 173.21. So we have successfully executed this, right? So what here we are doing? We are using a math.square root method to calculate the square root of 3. We are using a math.power method to calculate the side of a square. And by applying the formula, we have calculated the area of triangle. After that, we have rounded off the result, right? Up to 2 places using the to fixed method. So if we come here and if we write here to fixed 3, then let us see what do we get here. So I will write here what? Node day 52 challenge and we will hit enter. So what do we get? 173.205. So if you see what we are getting the 3 decimal places, right? So, but here it was being said only to 2. So we will come here and we will put here again 2 and then we will get here what? Up to 2 decimal places. So node day 52 challenge and if you hit enter, you will get it like this. So this is what was expected from us, right? So let us come here and we will have a quick recap of this question. So what it was been asked, we have to write a JS function to find the area of equilateral triangle where they have given us the area of equilateral triangle and where A represents the side of a triangle, right? In this, we had our input description, output description, and our sample input and output as well, right? Then we understood this question and we broke this question, right? So line number 16, we wrote here JS function and we wrote here what? Area of equilateral triangle with a parenthesis. And in line number 17, we wrote the formula, right? How to find out the area of equilateral triangle, right? What was the formula? 1 divided by 4 multiplied by the square root of 3 multiplied by side square, right? And then we understood the approach on the basis of this particular formula. So we used here what? Math methods. What were the math methods? Math dot square root, math dot power. What does math dot square root does? It is going to give us the square root of a particular number. Math dot power returns the value of a base raised to a power. After that, we rounded the result up to 2 places using the 2 fixed method, right? And later on, we just logged our result, okay? At line number 27, we wrote our function, right? Area equilateral triangle, and where we were passing side as in params, right? And at line number 28, we just consoled our side to test our function is running properly or not. Then after that, we calculated our square root of 3 by using a math dot square root method, right? Then we came here and we calculated our side square by using a math dot power, right? So here we have calculated the square root and we have calculated the side square, correct? After that, at line number 36, we calculated our area of equilateral triangle. So we substituted all the values inside this particular formula. So 1 divided by 4 and then multiplied by our find square root variable and then our find power variable, right? So all this gave me what? Area. So at line number 37, we found out our area as well, right? At line number 39, we declared a variable and we used our 2 fixed method, correct? In this, what we were doing it, we were rounding the result up to 2 decimal places using this particular method. And at line number 40, we consoled, right, our area rounded and we also improvised this particular statement, right? So what do we got here? Area of equilateral triangle with side and area rounded. If you clear the terminal and if you rerun it, you will see the correct output, right? Now, I'll tell you why this challenge is important, because calculating areas is a foundational concept in geometry and it has an application in graphics programming, game development, real world engineering calculations. Okay, let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is we are going to solve. Here we have the input and the output description, and we have here sample input and output as well. Okay, now I have taken this question in our VS Code. So let's move to our VS Code and we will proceed to solve this particular challenge. Okay, now here is the question. So let's read the question. What is the question? A person save his monthly saving according to the given schema. Now what is the given schema? He saves the same amount of money which is equal to the money saved in the immediate previous 2 months. Okay, and it has been said initially he saved 1,000 rupees and in the first month he saved another 1,000 rupees. Our task is to tell how much he had totally saved at the end of the n months, right? So this is our question. So first of all, what we are going to do, we are going to break this particular question, okay? So I will write here what? JS function, okay? Now what is the next important part here? That a person is saving his monthly saving according to the some schema, right? What is the schema? It has been mentioned that he saves same amount of money which is equal to the money saved in the immediate previous 2 months, right? So let us take this and we will put it over here, okay? After that, what is the next important line here? That it has been said initially he saved 1,000 rupees, right? So let us take that also here. And after that, what is the next thing written here? In the first month, he saved another 1,000 rupees, right? So let us take it over here, that also. Now what we have to find? They have said that we have to find how much he has saved totally, right? So that is what they have written. Your task is to tell how much he had totally saved at the end of n months, right? So we have to calculate his total savings, okay? Suppose if it is first month, so how much will be his savings? If it has been said it is for a 4th month, then how much will be the savings, okay? Like that. So this is the important chunks, right, of this particular question, correct? Now let us go to the Goovies Codekata page and take the sample input and output, right? right? And now also read this input description. What it is been said, you have been given with n, that is number of months, and you have to print the total savings at the end of the n months, right? So if you see here, we have been provided that 1 is your sample input and 2 is your sample output. That is n is equal to 1. That is our first month saving is how much? 2000 rupees. Okay, so let us take it and we will put it over here. So this is our first test case which we are going to do it. Okay, after that, what we can see here, we have been provided with an input of 3 and expected output is what? 7000. So this is our another test case which we have to solve it. Okay, now we will understand how we can reach to this particular output. Okay, so let us go to the line number 4 and understand his schema. Okay, he saves same amount of money which is equal to the money saved in the immediate previous 2 months. Okay, so suppose if I write here month 3. Okay, so if I write here month 3, so immediate previous 2 months means what? It will be M1 plus M2, right? That is what it is. If I say it is 4th month, okay? So it here I can write M4 and what it will be? M2 plus M3, right? That is what this line is saying, that he saves the same amount of money which is equal to the money saved in the immediate previous 2 months. That is what he is doing. The amount saved is the sum of the saving of the previous 2 months, right? So for month 3, for month 4 and so on, it is easy, right? But what about month 2 and month 1? Here is our challenge, okay? So we will come here and we will write here what? Month 2 and we will write here what? Month 1, okay? Now let us understand it, okay? How we are going to get our month 1 and month 2, okay? Now, after that, what it was been written here, that initially he saved how much rupees? 1000 rupees. So let us write here what? Initially he was saving 1000 rupees. So I will just write a separator here and then I'm going to write it, okay? So his initial saving is how much? 1000. So I will write here what? Saving is equal to 1000. Okay. After that, what it was being said, that in the first month he saved another 1000, right? So we can say here clearly that our M1 is how much? 1000, correct? So he saved in first month 1000. But this is not the total saving, guys. This is just the his monthly saving. Total saving we have to calculate. If you see here, it has been said how much he had saved totally, right? So this is our monthly saving, that it is being said it is 1000. Okay. Now what will be our total saving in this case? So I will just write here what? 1000 plus saving, that is nothing but 1000 plus 1000, right? That is how much? It will be 2000, correct? That is what is his monthly saving at the end of the first month. That is where you are getting when it is at a first month, he is saving 2000 rupees. Okay. Now we have to see for when our number of months is 3, then how much he is going to save. Okay. So now we have to calculate for M2. Now here, if you see, we don't have previous 2 months, right? So here what he is going to do it, he will save the double of this particular month. So I can write here 2000. This will be his monthly saving. Okay. This will be what? His monthly saving. But what will be his total saving now? His total saving will be what? 2000 plus this 2000, because at the first month he saved totally 2000, right? So that is what I am going to write here. What? 2000 plus saving, that is nothing but 2000 plus 2000. Okay. That we are going to get what? 4000. Okay. It will be not be 3000 or something. It will be 4000. Why? Because here we don't have a previous of 2 months, right? So he will save the double of the first month itself. So that is what he is going to do, 2000. And at the end of the first month, his total saving was how much? 2000. That is where we added this 2000 and we got here what? 4000. Okay. Now let us come here when it reaches to M3. Now this is easy, right? Because it is sum of previous 2 months, right? So here it will be how much? 1000 plus 2000, correct? So what here we are going to write? What will be our monthly saving then? 1000 plus 2000, that is nothing but 3000, right? And 3000 plus saving. So what it will be then? 3000 plus 4,000. What it is going to get now? 7,000. Correct? That is what we are getting here. When it is at a third month, he will save 7,000. Okay. So at the end of the fourth month, what will be his monthly saving? It is nothing but the addition of the previous 2 months, right? So that is nothing but M2 plus M3. What is M2? It is nothing but 2,000, right? After that, what we have to write? 3,000. That is nothing but 1,000 plus 2,000. So it will be what? 3,000, right? So what will be our total saving then here? We are going to write here what? 5,000 plus saving. Now, what is the saving of the previous month? It is totally 7,000, right? So we will write here what? 3,000 plus 7,000, right? And what you will get here? You are going to get here nothing but 11,000, right? So this will be the saving at our fourth month. If you see, it is easy to calculate when it is at the end of the third month, at the end of the fourth month. The challenging part was first and second. Even we can see the first month is also easy because it will be obviously his saving plus his first month, right? So that is where you can easily get this also. But the most challenging was what? To get our second month, right? So if you see here, that is why they gave here for the first input, that is 1, you are getting 2,000. So you will get past your test case here. But then what about the rest of the thing? The rest of the thing is dependent on our second month, right? So this was the very challenging one because we didn't had your previous 2 months, right? So we had to understand that he is going to save the previous month double amount, right? That is what it was. Monthly saving was 2,000, right? And we have successfully done this, right? Now, since we have understood our question and we have also understood that how we are going to reach to this particular output as well. Now let us come down and we will write our approach, okay? So I will write here what? Approach, okay? Now, in this question, we have been provided with a saving. So I will declare a variable called as a saving and I will assign it with 1,000. Okay. Then what is the next value they have given? They have given here first month saving, right? So I will write here what? First month is equal to 1,000. Okay. Now, after that, I am going to declare a variable called as an amount and we will initialize it with 0. Okay. Why I am declaring a third variable called as amount? Because I am going to accumulate my total savings in our amount variable. Okay. Now in this question, after this, what we are going to use? We will be using nothing but a loop, right? And from where to where it is going to run? Our loop is going to start from 1. Okay. Why 1? Because our month starts from 1, right? 1 to 12, right? That is why we are going to start at 1. And where it ends? It is going to end at our n month. Okay. So I will write here n. Okay. So n can be 1, it can be 3, it can be 4. Okay. It depends upon the question which is being provided to us. Here our n will be 1 and here our n will be what? 3, right? Now let us write our loop. Okay. So I will write here what? For let I is equal to 1 and I should be less than or is equal to n. Because 1 to n we have to run, right? Then I will increment it. Okay. Then our flower braces, right? Now in this flower braces, we are going to write our logic. Okay. So what I will be writing here, I am going to write here nothing but amount plus is equal to first month into I. Okay. This is what I am going to write it. Now, this is nothing but what? Amount is equal to amount plus first month into I. That is what I said I am going to accumulate here. Okay. Now let us understand the iteration how we are going to do. Because you will say, Poonam, you have not used here savings anywhere. I will tell you where I am going to use the saving also. Okay. First, we will understand the iteration. Okay. Now we know it is going to run till our n, right? That means if it is 2, it will run I is equal to 1 and I is equal to 2. If it is 4, it will run from 1 to 4. Okay. Now we will take a condition where it is going to run till 4 because we have understood till 4, right? So we will take a look where it is going to run from 1 to 4. Okay. So let us come here and write here what? When I is equal to 1. Okay. When I is equal to 1, that that means what will happen? This is going to get done, right? So what we are going to do? Amount is equal to amount plus first month into I. What is our amount right now? It is nothing but 0, right? Plus what is our first month? 1000, right? Multiplied by I. What is the I value? It is nothing but 1. So what we will get here? We are going to get nothing but here as 1000, right? So I will write here what? 1000, okay? Now when I is equal to 2, then what will happen? Our amount value got updated by 1000, right? So I am going to write here 1000, okay? After that, what will happen here? 1000, because first month saving is not going to change, so it will remain 1000. What is our I? Our I is nothing but 2. So what we are going to get here? We are going to get here what? 2000 plus 1000, that is nothing but 3000, right? So we will be getting here what? 3000. Okay, now when I is equal to 3, what will happen? I is equal to 3. So that time our amount value is what? 3000. So I will write here 3000 plus 1000 into 3, right? Because I value is 3. So what is the output we are going to get? We are going to get here 3000 plus 3000. That is nothing but 6000, right? Now when I is equal to 4, what is going to happen? 6000, right? Plus then 1000, because first month saving is not going to change, multiplied by our I. That is nothing but 4. So what we will get here? We are going to get here 6000 plus 4000. That will be what? 10,000, right? So I am going to write here 10,000. Okay. Now let us see our output, what we are getting. So we are getting here 2000. We have here what? 1000, right? Then what we are getting here? 4,000. We have here 3,000. Then we are getting 7,000. We have here what? 6,000. We have here 11,000 and we have here 10,000, right? So if you see, it is always less than 1,000, correct? So thereafter, once our loop is completed and we get our final amount, I will just add up the saving to this amount. So I will write here what? Amount plus saving. That is what I am going to write it. So as soon as I add this 1,000, I am going to reach to this particular output. Let us see how. So if I write here 1,000, what is our saving? Saving is nothing but what? 1,000, right? So what we will get here? 1,000 plus 1,000. That is nothing but 2,000. That is your actual output, right? For when I is equal to 1, correct? That means our first month, correct? Now what we will have here? We will have here 3,000 plus our saving, right? So what is our saving? Again, it is going to be the same, 1,000 only. So it will be 3,000 plus our 1,000. So what we are going to get here? It will be nothing but 4,000, right? So when I is equal to 3, what we are getting here? 6,000 plus saving. That is nothing but what? 6,000 plus 1,000, right? So we are going to get here what? 7,000. That also we are able to do it. When I is equal to 4, what is the value? It is nothing but 10,000. And we are going to write here what? Saving. So our 10,000 plus 1,000, right? So I will write here 1,000, and what we are going to get? We will be getting here nothing but 11,000, correct? So if you see, you are getting the same output now, 2,000, 4,000, 7,000 and 11,000. So we will be doing this question in a very, very simple case, okay? That first we will run a loop, we will multiply our first month into our I, and we will accumulate everything into our amount. And then once the loop is getting terminated, we will add our amount plus saving. And that is where we are going to get our final output, correct? So the same thing we are going to now write down inside our function also. So let us come at the top at line number 3, and we will define our function name as what? Total savings, okay, with a parenthesis. So this will be our function name. So let us come down and write our function. So function, I will write here what? Total savings, okay, and we will invoke it, okay. So I will invoke it total savings, and first I am going to pass here 1, and we will take it here as our n, okay. Now just we will console it. So console.log of n we will do, and let us come here in the terminal and we will write here what? Node day 69 challenge, and we will hit enter. What do we got? We got here as 1. That means this function is running properly, right? Now let us come down and we will declare our variables, okay? So we will write here what? Let saving is equal to 1000, correct? Then we will write here what? Let first month is equal to again 1000, right? Then let amount is equal to 0, correct? This is the place where we are going to accumulate our savings, right? Now what we will do? We will start our loop. So I will write here what? For, and then I will write here what? Let I is equal to 1. Why 1? Because our number of months starts at 1, right? So we will write here I is equal to 1 and it should run till our month, right? So that means I should be less than or is equal to n, and I will write here what? I plus plus, correct? Now inside this what I am going to write? Amount plus is equal to first month into our I, right? That is what we are going to do it. Now let us come here and we will just console. So I will write here what? Console.log, and I will write here what? I comma amount, okay? Now let us see the iterations also, okay? So we will come here and we will write here what? Note day 69 challenge, and we will hit enter. What I am getting? When I is 1, it is 1000, okay? Now let us come here and we will invoke it for all the other n values, okay? So I will write here total saving 2, I will pass here, I will write here total saving, and I'll pass here what? 3, and I'll pass till 4, okay? Because we have understood this logic till 4, right? Now let us come here and we will clear the terminal and we will rerun it, okay? So I will write here what? Node day 69 challenge, and we will hit enter. What we are getting? When our I is equal to 1, only one iteration, that is 1000. When I is equal to 2, here it is 2 iteration, and we can see it. We are getting here how much? 3000, right? Then 6000, then we are getting here 10,000. So we can see it is properly getting accumulated inside our amount, right? So now let us come here and we will do this particular line as well, where we understood now it was a difference of 1000 because we have not added savings, right? So we will come here outside our loop and we will write here what? Console.log, and I will write here what? Amount plus our savings, okay? So I will come here and I will clear the terminal and we will remove this console.log statement, okay? And we will remove this console.log statement as well. Now let us rerun it. So I will write here what? Node day 69 challenge and hit enter. What I got? 2000, 4000, 7000 and 11,000. That is what is the exact output. And if you test here, for 1, it is how much? 2000. For 3, it is how much? 7000. So you can see when n is equal to 1, it is 2000. When n is equal to 3, it is 7000. So we are getting the exact output. Now with this approach, you can calculate for month till 12 also. You will get it at the end of the 12th month how much he has saved. So let us come here and we will just check that also. So I will write here what? Total saving, and I'll pass here directly 12 now. Let us come here and clear the terminal and we will rerun it. So I will write here what? Node day 69 challenge and hit enter. What do we get? We get here what? 79,000. So he saved at the end of his 12 month, that is after 1 year, he will have total 79,000. Okay. So that is what. Let us come here and we will now improvise the console.log statement. So I will write here what? Template literals, and I'll put here comma, and I will write here what? Total savings after n months. Okay. Let me write it n with a dollar and a flower braces. So we will get the n values also, and I'll write here months, and we will write here colon. Okay. Now let us come here, clear the terminal and test it out. So I will write here what? Node day 69 challenge, and we will hit enter. So what do we got? We got here total saving after first month 2000, after 2 months 4000, after 12 months 79,000, right? So we have got our exact output, right? So this was our question and this is what it was demanding from us, okay? Now if you see, I have not written the line by line like this, okay? I choose to write it in a different way to get this particular output. So it's your choice. If you understand the question, then you can write it in any of the way to get our final output. But you have to make sure all the test cases are passing with that particular approach. Okay. If you see in this question, all my test cases are passing. Okay. We have tested and we have taken from the Gooey official page of Codekata the test cases, right? And if you see, it is working here, right? So let us come back to our VS Code again and let us have a quick recap of this particular question. So what is the question here? A person is saving monthly according to the given schema, right? What was the schema? He is saving the same amount of money which is equal to the money saved in the immediate previous 2 months, right? Initially, he saved 1,000 rupees and in the first month, he saved another 1,000 rupees. And we were being asked to calculate the total saving after the end of n months, right? Then we came here at line number 3 to 7 and we break down the particular questions into step by step, right? And we also declared our function name as what? Total savings, right? Now we understood here that we have been provided with the two values, that is a first month as 1,000 and our initial saving is what? 1,000 rupees, right? So it was been asked to calculate the total saving at the end of the n months, right? Then it was been provided here the sample input and output, right? After that, we understood how we can reach to this particular output using our saving and our first month value, right? That is what we did here. We did the calculation. We understood it, everything, right? Then we came down and we also wrote the approach to achieve this particular calculation, right? We understood that it is very easy to get for a month 3 and month 4 because it is nothing but the addition of the previous 2 months. But when it is at a month 2, it is difficult to understand what will be his saving, right? Monthly saving. Okay. For first month, it was given to us that it is first month plus your saving. It is understood, right? But for the second month, that was a challenge, right? So that is where we understood that yes, it will be the double of his previous month, right? So that is where we wrote 2,000, right? And we completed this particular calculation. And after that, to achieve this, what we wrote a for loop, right? And inside that, we did a very basic calculation that amount is equal to amount plus first month into I, right? That is what we have done here. And we did our iterations also very properly, right? We understood that our I has to be started at 1 because our number of month starts where? At 1, right? That is where we wrote here what? I is equal to 1, okay? And we calculated here. When we calculated, we understood that we were only less than 1,000 every time. So that is where we added the 1,000 here and we got our exact output, right? Because in this case, we were not using anywhere our savings, right? So we had to use that saving. So what we did first, we did this calculation and we understood that in the iteration, whenever it is getting performed, it is giving 1,000 rupees less, right? That is where is our saving. So we added our saving to each of the amount, right? Later on, correct? Then we came here and we wrote our function. So we declared our function as what? Total saving. We passed here as a params as n. That is nothing but our number of months, right? Then we declared here 3 variables, that is saving, first month and amount. Saving is 1,000, it was given. First month is 1,000, it was given, and we initialized amount is equal to 0, where we are going to accumulate our total saving in our amount, right? Then we wrote our for loop where I is starting at 1 and where it is ending at the end of our months, right? Then what we did, we incremented as well. Then we wrote here the same thing, amount plus is equal to first month into I. And we also tested here what will be the amount after the iterations, right? We understood the iteration in our console.log statement also, right? At line number 55, we printed our total savings for end month, right? End month. So at line number 55, we printed our total savings for n months. So at line number 55, we printed our total savings for n months, right? That is nothing but amount plus saving. And we wrote here what? Total savings after n months, right? That means we improvised our console.log statement as well, right? Then from line number 57 to 61, we invoke this function with different n number of months, right? And that is where we got the output in the console also. So let us come here and clear the terminal, and we will write here what node day 69 challenge, and we will hit enter. What do we get? We get for first month, second month, third month, fourth month. Now I'll tell you guys why this challenge is important, because this challenge enhances problem solving skills. It also demonstrates the efficient iterative techniques, avoiding recursion for better performance in real world scenarios. Let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is all about to find the sum of the squares of the first n natural numbers. This is a great exercise to practice the loops, mathematical operations, and working with numbers in JavaScript. So let's proceed with this challenge, and we will move towards our VS Code. If we see in the VS Code, we have here our question along with the sample input and output, right? So what is the question? We have to write a JavaScript function to find the sum of the squares of the first n natural numbers, right? And we have here our input and output, right? So now we will come down, and first of all, we are going to break this question, okay? So I will write here what JS function, okay? After that, what is the next important chunk of this question? That we have to find the sum of the squares of the first n natural numbers, right? So that also I will take here, and I am going to put it over here, okay? Now let us come here at the line number 7, and we will define our function name, okay? Now since we have to find what sum of the square of the first n natural numbers, so we will keep our function name as what? Sum of squares, okay? So I will write it like this, and I will remove the additional space whatever we have it, and we will make this O capital. We will make this S also capital. So this is our sum of the squares, okay? And this will be our function name, okay? So we have here 5, and here we have 55, right? So I will just write here what? 5, and we are getting the output as what? 55. So how we are reaching it? It is said we have to find the sum of the square of the first n natural numbers, right? That means if you see, it is nothing but 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and then 5. I am only going to this particular input, okay? So first natural numbers I am going to write here, okay? So what are the natural numbers now? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because the limit here is given till 5, correct? So that is our natural numbers. Now they have said we have to find the sum of the squares, right? So sum means what? We will put here what? Plus sign in between them, right? So then after putting this, they said sum of the square. So that means what we have to do? 1 multiplied by 1, then 2 multiplied by 2, then 3 multiplied by 3, then 4 multiplied by 4, and then 5 multiplied by 5, right? That is what we have to get here, correct? Now, if you see what you are going to get, 1 into 1 is what? 1, right? Then 2 into 2 will be what? 4, right? Then 3 times 3 will be what? 9, correct? Then 4 times 4 will be what? 16, correct? Then 5 times 5 will be what? 25, okay? Now, when you add all of this, you are going to get what? 55. If you want to check it, you can check it in the terminal also. If I paste it, what you are getting? You are getting nothing but 55. So the addition is what? 55. That is what is the output. And you see here, they have given here the explanation also, what they're expecting from us. So this is how from 5 we are reaching to 55. If it is 7, if it is 10, so we are going to start from 1 until that number, and then we will do what? Sum of the squares of that first n natural numbers, okay? That is what we are going to do, and we are going to achieve that, okay? Since we have understood how we are reaching to this 55, we will come down and we will write here our approach, okay? So I will write here what? Approach. Now in mathematics, we have a formula to find out the sum of the squares of the first n natural numbers, okay? So I will come here and I will write that formula. So let me write here that formula. The formula is nothing but sum is equal to n times n plus 1, and that has to be multiplied by 2n plus 1, and the whole has to be divided by 6, okay? So this is our formula. In case if we want to use this formula, we have to just substitute our values, okay? So what is the value? We will substitute here n, okay? And then finally we will get our sum, okay? But now We will not be using this formula to execute this question. We are going to use what? Loops, okay? And plus we are going to use math.power method to achieve this question, okay? So let us see how we can do it, okay? Now, since we know we have to calculate the sum, right? So what we are going to do, we will come in the beginning and we will declare a variable called as a sum, and we are going to initialize it with 0, okay? So that we can store our sum of the squares here, okay? After that, what we are going to do, we are going to use a loop, okay? So I will write here our I loop. Now, why we are going to use a loop? Because if you see, we are starting here from 1 and we are going till that number, right? You see here also it is the same given to us, right? In an explanation, you have to start from 1 and you have to reach it to your number, okay? So that is where we are going to take a loop, and what will be the start point? Start point will be always 1, and what will be the end point? End point will be that number. So in this case, what is our number now? 5, okay? So that is what we are assuming it here. So I will just write here our I loop now. So we have to write here what? Let I is equal to 1 and I should be less than or is equal to n and then I plus plus, okay? Okay. So in this flower braces, we are going to write a logic to calculate its square using math.power and add it to the sum. So how we are going to write it? We will be writing here what? Sum is equal to sum plus math.power, and in that we are going to pass I comma 2. Why I comma 2? Because I raised to 2, right? Every time 2 will be the constant because we have to find the square, right? That is why I raised to 2 we are going to pass it, because I is representing our natural numbers, right? So 1 raised to 2, 2 raised to 2, then 3 raised to 2, then 4 raised to 2, then 5 raised to 2, right? That is what it is going to do. And then finally it is going to store it here after adding it up every time, right? And for each iteration, it is going to add up the square of the current number to the sum variable, right? And after our loop ends, we will come here and we can just print our addition, right? So we will get here what? Finally, we will get our sum of the square of the first n natural numbers, which will be stored in our sum variable, right? That is what we are going to do it. And we will be using this particular approach to solve it, okay? Now we will implement the same approach inside our function as well, okay? So let us write our function. So I will write here what? Function sum of square, right? And we will invoke it quickly, okay? So I will invoke it and I will pass our input number. That is nothing but our 5, right? Let us come here and we will receive here as n, okay? Now let us just console it out. So I will write here what? Console.log of n, okay? And now let us clear the terminal and we will run it here. So I will write here what? Node day 75 challenge and we will hit enter. What do I got? I got here 5. That means this function is properly running and whatever the input we are passing, it is accepting over here, okay? Now we will come here and we will declare a variable called as a sum and we will initialize it to a 0, okay? This sum will be the variable where we are going to store the sum of the squares, right? Now after this, let us write our loop. So I will write here what? For let I is equal to 1 and it should run till our n, right? And then I plus plus, correct? Now let us check our iteration till what our loop is running. So I will write here what? Console.log of I, right? Now let us come here and we will just test it out. So I will write here what? Node day 75 challenge and we will hit enter. What do we got? We got here 1 to 5, right? That means this is perfectly running fine, okay? Now here I will show you one more way without using this math.power also, okay? So let us write here what? Without using math.power, how can we solve it, okay? Now I showed you here, right? What is it? It is just multiplication of our same number, right? So that is what we are going to do it here. So I will write here what? Sum plus is equal to, okay? And then here I will write what? I into I. That is going to give me our final sum. Let us see what do we get outside our loop, okay? So I will write here what? Console.log of our sum. That also, if you do it, you can easily get it. So I will write here what? Node day 75 challenge And if you see, we are getting here 55. That means this is also working with us, right? Sum plus is equal to I into I. If you see what we have done, same number we are multiplying, right? That is what I have done here. So this logic which I explained, this also I used it here, okay? Now let us see with using our math.power how we can do it. So I will write here what? With using math.power. Okay, so I'll just write it like this. Okay, and here as well, parenthesis, let us add, and we will write here what? Sum plus is equal to, I will write, and we will just write here what? Math.power, and in this we are going to pass I comma 2. Okay, now let us see what do we get. So I will just write here what? Note day 75 challenge, and we will hit enter. What we are getting? We are getting 55. Okay, so in both the cases we are able to solve it. So here also, if you don't want to use this formula and math.power method, that also can be easily doable. Okay, so without using math.power also we are reaching to this 55, and with using our math.power we are reaching to this 55. So you can use any one of them as per your choice. Okay, that is what we have done here. Now I will also show you with the substitution. In the beginning I thought I will not be doing it because it's just a pure substitution, but let us do that substitution as well. Okay, so let us come down and we will write here what? Let sum for. Okay, so let us declare another variable. Okay, and we will store this formula inside it. Okay, so we will write here what? N times n plus 1, right? It is, then we have to use our again times. Okay, and then we will come here inside this bracket 2 times n, right? Then we will write here what? Plus 1, and then whole divided by 6. Okay, that is what. And now just let us console it out. So I will write here what? Console.log sum for. Okay, let us clear the terminal and test it out. So I will write here what? Node day 75 challenge, and we will hit enter. If you see here, we are getting here what? 2 times 55. That means line number 35 is getting printed. Line number 37 is also getting printed. Okay, now if you see the formula, I have written here the formula, and wherever it was needed, I have added a multiplication sign. Okay, so always remember, whenever you are using it, you will have to use it with a multiplication sign. Why? Because here, if you are not using it, then it will behave like a method or a function, and this type of method doesn't exist, right? That is where you are going to get an error. Okay, so don't use directly as the formula it is. You have to use proper multiplication sign within there wherever it is needed. Okay, now what we will do, we will come here and we will print all the 3 ways. Okay, the way we are getting the output. Okay, so let us come here and we will declare a variable called as what? Sum math, and we will initialize it with 0. Okay, now this is going to give you the output when we are using this math.power. Okay, so I will just uncomment this out, and I will write here what? Sum math. Okay, and we are going to store it inside it. Now here we will come and we will write here what? Console.log of sum math. Okay, now let us see what do we get in the terminal. Okay, so I will write here what? Note day 75 challenge, and we will hit enter. If you see, we are getting 3 times 55, right? That means everything is running properly. Okay, now what I will do, I will take this line number 38 and I will put it in the beginning. Okay, so I will write it here. Okay, now let us just bring together all our console.log statement and we will just print it out. Okay, so clear it up, note day 75 challenge, and hit enter. You see here we are getting 3 times 55, right? No change, correct? Now what we will do, let us comment this line number 26. Let us comment this line number 32 and once again run it. Okay, so node day 75 and hit enter. You are getting here what? 55, right? Now let us come here and we will just improvise it. Okay, now I will write it here what? Sum of the square of the first n natural numbers. Okay, so I will just put it over here, and in place of n, I am going to write our exact n. Okay, so dollar flower braces n, and we will make this S capital. Okay, and we will use here colon as well. Okay, and we will use the same thing inside our both the console.log statement. Okay, so I will write it here and I will write it here as well. Okay, now let us clear it up and we will just test it out first. So I will write here what? Node day 75 challenge, and we will hit enter. If you see, we are getting here what? All three places we are getting here 55. Okay. Now we will just write here with using, I'll write here using math dot power, and I will write here using mathematical formula. Okay. That is, we have used it. And here using just multiplication, right? So I will write here that as well. Okay. And now let us clear our terminal and let us just test it. Now you will get a proper thing here. So node day 75 challenge, and if you hit enter, you are getting it properly. Let us clear it out and rerun it. Node day 75 challenge, and you see here what using multiplication is 55, using math dot power is 55, and using mathematical formula is 55. Okay, let us write that complete, okay, formula also. So I will write here what MULA. Okay, now what we will do, we will invoke it for the other inputs. Okay, so we will check it for 7 and 10 also. So I will just pass here what sum of squares 7 and sum of squares 10. Let us see what do we get here. So I will write here what node day 75 challenge, and we will hit enter. What we are getting for 7, we are getting everywhere 140. That means everything is correct. And here for 10, you are getting everywhere 385, right? So that means all of them are correct, right? So that is what we have done it, and we are getting here our exact output, right? Now let us have a quick recap of this particular question. So let us come above and let us read out the question. What do we have? We have to write a JS function to find the sum of the square of the first n natural numbers, right? And what do we have here? We have here our input and output, right? Now on the basis of our question, we wrote here important chunks of the question, right? What was that? JS function, and we defined here our JS function, right? And then what we have to find? We have to find the sum of the square of the first n natural numbers, right? We understood here how we are reaching from 5 to 55, right? And on the basis of that, we wrote our approach, right? By using a mathematical formula, we can easily get our sum, right? That also we have seen inside our function, right? We also used here another approach, that is using loops and math dot power function, right? So what we did, we initialized a variable sum is equal to 0, right? And this sum is going to store the sum of the squares, right? Then we looped here what from 1 to n, correct? And we used here our math dot power method, right? So for each number, we are going to calculate its square using the math dot power, and we are going to add it to the sum. And finally, we are going to print our sum, right? And the same thing we have done inside our function also. So we came here and we defined our function as what? Sum of the square. And we were receiving here n as a params, right? Then we just consoled our n and we just tested, right? Then we came here and we declared here 3 variables. One was what? Sum is equal to 0, sum math is equal to 0, and sum for, right? And here we initialize both of them with 0, and here we put our formula, right? One thing to remember, that when we are using the formula, we have to use it with our multiplication sign wherever it is needed, okay? Then we wrote our for loop, right? Inside our for loop, what we have done, then we came here and we calculated the sum of the squares, right? Without using our math dot power, and we were storing inside this sum, right? And down what we did with using math dot power, right? And we came here and we stored everything inside it, right? And that is where we consoled everything, right? And here there was a direct substitution, so it happened directly, right? And we consoled it here directly, right? And if you see in the terminal, we were getting the correct output. So let us come here and we will clear it out, and I will write here what? Node day 75 challenge. And if we hit enter, we were getting 3 times 55. We were getting 140 also 3 times, and then 385 also 3 times. Why? Because we have invoked here with 3 different input numbers, right? 5, 7, and 10. That is where we were getting the output. And here, if you see, we have written 3 times console.log with the correct improvisation statements, right? And that is where we are getting it here. So we will come here and we will just comment this line number 43 and 44, because the input which was provided, it was only 5. So let us come here and I will write here what? Node day 75 challenge. And if you hit enter, you are going to get your exact output, right? So if you see here, we have done this challenge using this 3 different ways. Whichever way you like it, you can just go for it and use it. Okay. Now I will tell you why this challenge is useful. This challenge helps us to practice the basic mathematical operations and improve our ability to use loops and work with numbers. It's a great exercise for mastering how to manipulate and calculate values programmatically. I hope you found this challenge is helpful for your coding journey. Keep practicing, keep improving, and have a great day. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Code with Poonam for more coding challenges, interview preparations, and JavaScript tricks. Also, let me know in the comment section which problem you found the most interesting or the challenging one. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Happy coding, guys.